Today we're going to be swapping out all the halogen lights on this 2019 Ram 2500 to all LED. We're going to be doing the low beam, high beam, both turn signals. I've already swapped the fog lights to LED just to make sure that the canvas system doesn't pick up on those and throw an error code. We have all new interior lights, and we're going to be doing reverse lights on this. This is a Bighorn 2019. The 2020s and 2021s are all going to be the same, Bighorn and Tradesman. They came factory with halogen reflector style headlamps, and everything from a Laramie and up came factory with LED projector styles. So this is not going to work, or not going to be the same, completely different headlight configuration on the Laramies and up. And we'll show you how to get all of these out, like all the little panels and everything that needs to be taken off from the engine bay to get to the high and low beams. And this is a 6.7 Cummins truck. Don't know if the gas are any different, but I do know that we have to remove some of the intake piping and different things to get your high and low beams on the inside. So these are all the lights that I've ordered for this. We have the canvas decoders or resistor packs, whatever you want to call them. We have a set for the H11s and the 9005s. The 9005s are your high beams, H11 low beams. Then we have these turn signal bulbs. Now these are switchbacks, so they will be white when your parking lights are on, and then they will swap to amber color when your turn signals are on. These are supposed to be built-in canvas ready turn signals, so we're going to see how that works, because I do not do error codes on the dash. So if these don't work, the factory ones are going back in, because yeah, it says canvas ready right on the back. We will see how true that is, but you cannot fit a canvas decoder like this or a resistor pack or anything like that in the turn signal, so it has to be built into the turn signal bulb itself. We have LED reverse lights, because these trucks came with halogen reverse lights. We have map dome lights, and then a bunch of T10s just for all the random odds and ends, interior lights and whatnot. So we'll be working on that. And the fog lights that I installed previously, they did not require any resistor pack or canvas decoder or whatever you want to call these stupid pack things. They worked with no error codes, nothing plugged into them, just plug and play the LED bulb in place of the halogen one. So to access your low beam bulb in your driver's side wheel well and your passenger side, there is these little covers that just use a plastic push pin type connector, and you can take that off, and then you can access your low beams and I believe your turn signals. We will find out when we get in there. And as for your fog lights, I don't know if you can see up in there, maybe, possibly. They're just wide open. You can just stick your hand under there and pull the bulb off. There is a safety detent pin on there, a little red clip. You unclip that, pop a new bulb in, put your safety detent red clip back in, and they're good to go. Make sure you clock them in the right direction. I don't know if you can see that vertical line. They have to be in a certain way so they project correctly, because there's an LED on both sides of that, kind of like a filament on the factory halogen bulb. But the way that it works in the reflector housing, it has to go in that certain way, completely straight up and down vertical, and that little line dictates that in there. That's how you get your correct beam pattern, so you don't have any weird light going in different directions and whatnot. So I just use a regular flathead screwdriver, pop that center pin out, and then you are able to pull that pin out, and then this cover should open like that and come off, and then you have full access in there. And then that round rubber cover that's on the back of the headlight assembly, that is what stores your low beam bulb. You pull that cover off, and then you should be able to take your low beam bulb out and swap it. I also just found out that that little round one right there in the center of the beam of the light, there's a little tab that sticks out on it, small round plug. That houses your turn signal bulb, and then I don't know if you can see back in there. Anyways, behind that wiring harness to the right of that, there's another one identical to it. They both twist counterclockwise. You pull them out, you put your new bulb in that socket and put them back in, twist them clockwise, and they'll click into position. And those are both of your turn signal bulbs. There's two on each side. These two are the driver's side. So this is the turn signal bulb. This is the round plug that you'll see from the back. You just grab a hold of this tab right here, twist it out, comes out, and then you will reuse this socket, and you're going to take the bulb off, and it just pulls out. Try not to break any of those tabs off in there. And then these little pins are what feed the power into your bulb, tell them when to turn on, turn off, blah, 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 blah. So we're just going to pop one of these in. Now I do know that LEDs are very sensitive on the direction, the polarity, so if you put it in there, don't work, pull it back out and flip the bulb 180 and put it back in and see if it works then. I wish they would label these things, you know, so you know which way to put them in or take them out, but they don't, so it is what it is. So just clip in like that and then install them, twist them, and go try them. So for the second turn signal bulb, your outer one is here, the other one is here. I got the first one out through the access panel in the back, but the inner one I can get by reaching down below the this connector here, and it's just below that. You can't see it on video, but if you reach your hand down there, you can grab that, twist it, pull it out. It's the same as the first turn signal socket that I pulled out. So I'm going to get those pulled out, place those, and then we're going to test it, make sure they work properly, and I have the polarity set right in the connectors. Okay, stupid me moment. I put the reverse lights in the turn signals and it was causing hyper flash, and they did not have any switchback feature. Crazy, since these don't have any amber LEDs on them. These are the right ones, so I'm going to get these installed and then try it again. Well, the LED turn signals that said that they were cannabis compatible, they are not. Hyper flash, and they do not turn to switchback. They actually don't blink at all. They just stay on with your park lights and then make the rest of the truck hyper flash and give an error code on the dash saying that the bulb is out. So there's like $150 in 2 bulbs. Junk. So just put the factory ones back in there. Now we're going to move on to the low beam, and hopefully those work with no error codes. So when you pull that upper rubber dust cap off, you will be able to see in there to the back of your low beam bulb and connector. You're going to twist that, pull that out, and plug in your resistor pack or canvas controller or whatever, and then your bulb on the end of that pack, and then shove it all inside there. There's enough room in the back of the housing to fit the dust cover and all that stuff in the back there. So we're going to get that swapped out. So this is the factory low beam bulb on the driver's side. We have our LED one and then this resistor pack. So we're going to plug the male end of our resistor pack wiring harness into the headlight, and then this part into the factory truck's wiring harness that used to plug directly into the back of this bulb. And we're going to tuck this down in there, seal this all up. So as you can see, we have the light plugged in, and then the harness, that's the factory harness coming out, plugged into the resistor, goes into the pack, comes out, plugged into this. Then we have our LED bulb. And what I do to line up the bulb to make sure it's the right way, you have these 3 tabs. There's one big tab, and then you can see the filament is one way. And if it's completely vertical, I just set up this bulb in the same configuration using these 3 little locking tabs, and I make sure that my LED is the same way. You can see it has the big tab on the bottom, and that's facing directly vertical with the bulb, so it's going to sit the exact same way as the old halogen bulb is. Most of these are adjustable. They'll have like a set screw or something on them you can loosen up and clock this wherever you need it to sit in the housing, but these ones already came completely vertical like this, so hopefully the rest of them are like that. So now you can see we have the new LED in there. All the wires are tucked up in there. They fit a little snug, but they fit. And then I don't know if you guys will be able to see. Yeah, you can't even see it with the cover, but the LED bulb is sitting completely vertical in the housing, so that is the correct orientation. So I'm going to put this cover back on, and we're going to go up top and start working on the high beam, which you can reach from the inside of the engine bay. It is under this rubber cover right there, and we're going to do the same thing with that. We're going to pull the old one out, hook up the canvas pack, and then shove all the wiring inside and hook the LED back in. So I got the dust cover off of this one, and then you're just going to reach in there, grab the bulb out, same way that I did the low beam. So now we have the high beam 9005 bulb with the canvas detector plugged into the factory one. We're gonna do the same thing, shove all this stuff into the headlight housing and then twist this bulb in. This one is also clocked in the appropriate direction straight out of the box, so that's pretty nice. We've already tested the highs and lows now. Both of them seem to be working. It's just turn signal bulbs do not. So far we have no codes for the high and low beams though, or fog lights. Fog lights have been in for probably a couple months now, no error codes or problems with them. So we got fog lights working, low beams working, and the high beams. Unfortunately, turn signals were a no-go, so factory ones are back in, and then I cannot replace that marker light, so that's staying orange, but at least those work. They look way better than that. Well, we got LED fog light, but halogen headlights, terrible. Hate them. White looks so much better. So, other side, same thing. Access panel. Pop that out. That'll get you to your low beam, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do all that since I already showed you on the other side. Same thing, pull dust cover off, pull the wiring out, add your resistor pack and your other LED, pop it in. So I was actually able to just reach my hand down in there and take that cover off and swap the bulb and get everything in there and get it set in the housing without taking off the intake and everything like that. Now, if you had the correct turn signal bulbs, or you were replacing your OEM turn signal bulbs, you would have to take that out to be able to get to this inner turn signal bulb. But you can get this outer one from the fender well, but we are not replacing the turn signal bulbs because they don't work. So that is all for the front. So LED fog lights, low beams, high beams, both sides, those are all done. They all work. Now I'm gonna go swap the reverse lights and possibly do the interior lights tonight. So now for the reverse lights, you have to remove the tail lights. There's two T25 Torx bits holding them in, and then this assembly will come out, and then you can replace your reverse lights or turn signals, tail lights, whatever you want back there. So with your tail light assembly pulled out, this center socket right here is your reverse bulb. Twist socket, pull it out, remove that bulb, stick the new one in it. Probably can't do this with one hand. Maybe. So you can see, reverse lights in, they work good. So as you can see, I already changed the footwell, I don't know what you want to call it, whatever light, underneath the dashes. There's two little plastic domes. There's one on each side. You can just pull this plastic dome off, and there's a T10 halogen bulb under there. You just push your new T10 LED in there and then pop the cover back on. Pretty simple. So I got all the interior lights in. The rear one, there's just a little tab in the clear lens that you can shove a screwdriver in there. Pop it, it drops down. You just put the, I think it's a 42 millimeter LED barrel light that goes in there, and then these two in your sunglass holder. There's two 8mm screws in there, and then two little tabs. You push the two tabs down, pull the front down, reach your hands around, and there's two clips in the back. You pull those straight down, then you got to take apart that center console and pop two T10 lights in there. So it is extremely brighter in here than the halogens ever were. So we got no lights, park lights, just amber, low beams, high beams. So we got our low beams, pretty even across the top. They look like they have a pretty clean line for being reflector housings. Here's your high beams. It's got like a pretty lateral horizontal hot spot right in the middle of them high beams. They're also pretty even. And then these are just Those are just the fog lights. Probably about as bright as your low beams used to be, but